Social protection is not a matter of charity or generosity, but a basic responsibility of the state and one that government intends to champion. So says Minister for Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment, Honorable Joachim Henry. Minister Henry lent his voice to discussion and debate in Parliament on November 22, 2022, on an unprecedented bill that would facilitate the borrowing of over $5 million to support the implementation of a project dubbed Safety Nets for Vulnerable Populations Affected by Coronavirus. Minister Henry, who also is the Member of Parliament for Castries South East, an area prone to flooding and other natural disasters with a significant marginalized population, said the basis of the borrowing was not to give a bailout to big businesses, nor to assist the more affluent in society, but rather to assist the poor and most vulnerable, many of whom have been left reeling under the negative impacts of a global COVID-19 pandemic.
Whether persons accept it or not, inequalities exist in our society. Discrimination exists, and we have the knowledge that there are families who, for whatever reason, are unable to meet the basic needs and enjoy the right of a decent standard of living. Mr. Speaker, at the Ministry of Equity, we see such families, we interact, we've heard of such households, and we understand the need to assist them until they are able to manage independently.
With many of the components spanning a 6-month period, the project consists of 4 main segments, namely protection using existing cash transfer programs, protection for the vulnerable populations not on the roster of transfer programs working in the informal sector, support for learning continuity in vulnerable groups, and project administration and management.
It will also support education continuity in Saint Lucia, as well as vulnerable population working in the informal sector who are not part of the existing cash transfers arrangement. Mr. Speaker, this project supports the long-term vision of the government of Saint Lucia as articulated in the revised National Social Protection Policy 2022 to 2030, which focuses on provision and fulfillment of the needs and rights of individuals, in particular at-risk children, the poor, the vulnerable, elderly, youth, men and women, families and communities, and the development of the full potential of citizens, paying particular attention to the poorest and most vulnerable populations through a comprehensive, integrated, and sustainable social protection system.
Calculated at $5.2 million, the project will be financed through a soft loan or concessionary financing from the special funds resources of the Caribbean Development Bank, allocated from funds provided by the Inter-American Development Bank to CDB under the Global Loan Program to build health and social and economic resilience in the member countries of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States during the COVID-19 crisis. The loan will be repayable over a period of 23 years, including a 3-year grace period at a rate of 2.89% per annum. The loan will cover 98% of the total project cost. The government of Saint Lucia will finance the remaining 2% of the project cost to the tune of $296,000 EC, or approximately $110,000.